students. In this video, I will be giving you all the answers to lesson number 1, a hero. In the previous video, I have already discussed the lesson in detail. There's a link in the description box below. You need to view that video first to understand the answers that are discussed in this video. Let's start off. First question is, a report about a boy in the newspaper was an unexpected event in Swami's life. Justify. So in the story, you know that it begins with Swami's father reading the newspaper. And we learned that this event was quite unexpected and it led to unexpected turns in Swami's life. To justify this, you need to go and check out the first part of the lesson. So in the beginning of the lesson itself, we start off with this sentence, for Swami, events took an unexpected turn. You need to talk about how father was reading the newspaper, and in the newspaper he read an article about the brave boy who had fought with the tiger. And this led to father commanding Swami to sleep alone in the office room, which is why it was unexpected. So I have given the answer to this over here. This is the answer to question number 1. Let me read it out for you. Yes, the report in the newspaper was an unexpected event in Swami's life. The report was about a boy who had fought with a tiger and his bravery. When Swami's father read the report, he challenged Swami to display his courage by sleeping alone. We need to add in the office room. To Swami, who usually slept beside his granny in the passage, this was a frightful proposition. Because of the report, Swami's father made him sleep alone in the office room, and thus, whenever you're asked to justify something, it is good practice to add that sentence at the end of your justification. Now, you can either copy down the answer from here, or I will give the entire answer in the description box below. Just click on it so you get the answer directly. Now let's go back to the next question. We need to discuss question number 2. And the question is, Swami made a comment on the newspaper report. Was he right? How did his view differ from that of his father? Now, if you remember the story, Swami talks about how the person might have been an adult who was very strong because he felt that a boy could not fight with a tiger at all. Now, this led to an argument between father and Swami about how courage and strength are important in one's life. You can go back to refer to that part of the lesson. The answer that I have given is over here. Swami remarked that the person who fought the tiger must have been a very strong and grown-up person and not a boy at all. No, he was not right. So this is the answer to this part of the question. Was he right is the question, and we don't think he was right. His father's view was different from his. His father believed that courage was everything, and strength and age were not important. Swami, on the other hand, believed that even with courage, a boy could not fight a tiger. So this is the answer to question 2. Now, let's answer question 3. What desperate attempts did Swami make to escape from his father? Now we have learnt in the lesson that Swami did not readily agree. When his father said you need to sleep alone in the office room, Swami was not like, okay, I'll do it. Instead, he tried a lot of ways to escape from sleeping alone. Let's recall what are the attempts he made. So here is the answer to this question. First, Swami tried to change the subject by loudly and enthusiastically talking about his cricket club and how they were going to buy brand new balls and bats. When his father cut in and commanded him to sleep alone, he tried to procrastinate. Now, observe here, I usually use some words, and these words can also be replaced by what I have given in the brackets. So, if postpone the date is easier for you, you can use that, or you can use procrastinate also. Okay, so you can say he tried to postpone the date by saying he would sleep alone from the first of the next month. He next tried to quietly slip into his usual sleeping position in the passage beside his granny. He also tried to silence his granny by telling her not to wake him up even if their house caught fire. When his father caught him and dragged his blanket off, he pretended to be asleep. As a final attempt, when his father rolled up Swami's bed and was carrying it to the office room, he looked at his granny and threw a look of appeal at his mother for their intervention. Finally, as he requested his father to let him sleep in the hall, as he found the office room dusty and was afraid that there might be scorpions behind the law books. Now, these are the attempts that Swami made. The next question 4. Why did Swami conclude that his father's proposition was frightful? Now, we learn in the beginning of the lesson that to Swami, sleeping alone in the office room was something he was not ready to do. So, the answer is Swami's father proposed that Swami was to sleep alone at night in the office room. Swami was used to sleeping beside his granny in the passage, and he felt that any change in this arrangement would keep him trembling and awake all night. Therefore, father's proposition was frightful to him. This is answer to question 4. Question 5. As the night advanced, Swami felt that something terrible would happen to him. What would it be? How would it happen? So we learn in the story that as Swami was trying to fall asleep, all the stories about ghosts and devils came back to him, and he started imagining that the devil is going to come and get him. So the answer is over here. This is the answer. As the night advanced and the silence in the house deepened, his heart beat faster. So this is Swami's heart beat faster. He remembered all the stories of devils and ghosts he had heard in his life. He became faint with fear and hurriedly got up and spread his bed under the bench and crouched there. He shut his eyes tight and encased himself in his blanket and unknown to himself, fell asleep. And in his sleep was racked with nightmares of a tiger chasing him. When he reached out to feel his granny's presence at his side, as was his habit, he only touched the wooden leg of the bench. His lonely state came back and he sweat with fear. He then heard a rustling and moved to the edge of the bench and stared into the darkness. Something was moving down and he lay gazing at it in horror. Swami was convinced that his end had come and the devil would presently pull him out and tear him. Now, whenever questions like this come out, you might not be able to recall all the points in your exam. But a good practice is while you're preparing for the exam, you need to try and recall all of these points. so that even if you forget one line or two, it will still be okay when you're actually writing your exams. So this is answer to question 5. Question 6. There was absolute silence in the room. In spite of it, some noises reached Swami's ears. What were they? The answer to question 6 is over here. Though there was absolute silence in the room, through the stillness, all kinds of noises reached Swami's ears. They were the ticking of the clock, rustle of trees, snoring sounds, and some vague night insects humming. Vague is random. Let's move on to question 7. Narrate Swami's dreadful experience when he was lying under the bench. Now observe, this question has some common things with question 5. So here you need to talk about everything. But for question 7, you can only narrate after he lies down under the bench. Swami crept under the bench, shut his eyes and covered himself with a blanket. Soon he fell asleep. In sleep, he was racked with nightmares that a tiger was chasing him and he could not escape. With a desperate effort, he opened his eyes and he put his hand out to feel his granny's presence at his side, as was his habit. But he only touched the wooden leg of the bench. In his loneliness, he sweated with fright, and suddenly he heard a rustling and saw something moving down. He felt that the devil would presently pull him out and tear him and bit the moving figure to protect himself. This is answer to question 7. Question 8. How was Swami honored by his classmates, teacher, and the headmaster? The answer is congratulations were showered on Swami the day after he bit the burglar. His classmates looked at him with respect, and his teacher patted his back. The headmaster said that he was a true scout. Swami had bitten into the flesh of one of the most notorious housebreakers of the district, and even the police were grateful to him for it. This is question 8. Question 9. Why did father want Swami to sleep alone in the office room? So we learned that father felt it was a disgrace for a boy in 7th standard or 2nd form to sleep with his granny or mother like a baby. So the answer is father thought it was a disgrace that Swami was sleeping next to his granny or mother like a baby, even though he was already in the 2nd form. Father did not like the way Swami was being brought up. He wanted Swami to prove that he had courage by sleeping alone in the office room. Next, question 10. Who do you think was wiser, Swami or his father? Justify your preference. So this is your opinion. In the question I have given, I have given one form of the possible answers. In the lesson, a hero, Swami's father was wise as he wanted Swami to learn courage by sleeping alone in the office room. Swami's father recognizes the importance of courage in one's life. He supports his view with the example, a man may have the strength of an elephant and yet be a coward, whereas another may have the strength of a straw, but if he has courage, he can do anything. Courage is everything. Strength and age are not important. So this is Swami's father's opinion. Next, question 11. Why did Swami feel relieved in the end? So we learned that in the end, Swami's mother, she supports his opinion or or desire to sleep in the passage beside his granny. So the answer is here. Swami heard the conversation between his mother and father from under the blanket in the end. Mother lost her temper when father asked about where Swami was sleeping. She supported Swami and commanded father to let him sleep wherever he wanted to. Hearing that his father was giving him up, Swami felt tremendously relieved. Next, this is a letter writing exercise, so you will need to practice both formal and informal letters. So this is the informal kind of letter. Here you have to write a brief letter to your friend describing how you helped to catch a burglar in your house. When in the exam you have such a question, it is helpful to make sure you have the format of your letter writing very properly understood. Also, if it is permitted, you can draw a rectangle inside which you can write your letter if there is space and if there is time. Now, the format of the informal letter is usually like this. You have the to address over here. You have the date and salutation followed by the body of the letter. Finally, you have the end where you end with the greeting and your name. Now, here I have a random made up to address, the date, and because Swami is writing to one of his friends, I have picked the name Mani because in the lesson we learnt about one of his friends named Mani. Now, usually you begin with a update about your situation and inquiry about how they're doing. I am doing well. I hope you're also doing well. Please send my best regards to the elders. Next, in the body, you need to talk about the incident of catching a burglar. So here I have given the body. You can pick up these points or you can copy this down for your answer. I have an amazing incident to tell you. I helped catch one of the most notorious housebreakers of the district. It all started with the unexpected event of father finding an article. So this is also a report about a boy who had fought with a tiger. Father felt it was a disgrace I was sleeping alone even though I am in second form. I don't agree with him. He made me sleep alone in the office room despite my persistent protests. Maybe it was fate that a burglar chose that day to break into our house. This is our house. I heard a rustling noise while sleeping and I bravely made my way towards it. I was careful not to make any noise and suddenly I pounced on him and bit his ankle really hard. You should have heard him scream in pain. Then, after I had already caught him, father, cook, and a servant rushed to help me. Everyone is congratulating me. My friends, teacher, and even the headmaster call me a true scout. The police are very grateful for my service. I can't wait to tell you all about it the next time we meet. With love, Swaminathan. So this is how Swami might have described the happenings of that night to his friend. Not all of it is completely true. See, Swami pretends to be brave, but that is how friends talk to each other. Those are the answers up until question 12. Now let's go to question 13. Some words describing the characters of the story a hero are given in brackets. Put them in the appropriate columns. So you have several adjectives and adverbs over here that describes the characters in our story. And the characters we have Swami's father, mother, granny and Swami himself. Now we need to divide these words into the appropriate characters according to their behavior. So I have already done this for you and have copied down the words into the appropriate columns. We have Swami's father who is authoritative and disciplined. Now, Swami's mother can be called caring and protective. Observe, these two words are also applicable to his granny, but the most applicable word can be innocent, because when Swami is trying to trick her to being silent, she doesn't know what is going on. Next, for Swami, we have helpless, nervous, and tricky. Let's move on to the grammar sections. The first task is homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings and different spellings. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate words. Now, homophones are words like this. These two are two different words, but they have the same pronunciation. To and to. So we need to choose the appropriate homophone and pick it and write it in the blank. The first one is, we had too many apples to carry. The spelling is T-O-O. I rode a horse at the Marina Beach. Did you have a pear for lunch? The book's over there on the shelf. Now, usually I find students get confused between there, and there is another word that is the contraction of they are that people get confused with. That is, they are. So make sure you are very careful when you are using such confusing words. Next, this is a story told by a knight. Once he received a letter. When he read it through, he could not believe his own eyes, for it was written by none other than the queen of the land. She asked him to meet her at a secret place. The knight was in a fix, but he thought of a plan to tide over this problem. He went to the meeting place, not alone, but along with his fair wife. Can you guess what happened then? So these are the appropriate words that you need to pick and copy down. Next, you have this exercise where you need to unscramble these words and form the correct word. So the meanings are given here. You can use them as clues. I've already done it for you. So you can just take a look, or you can do it yourself and check up on the answers. Now, for the grammar parts of this lesson, I'll be making a separate video where we can go through the important parts of grammar that are suggested according to syllabus. I'll see you all in the next video.